Okay, we're going to graph and find the equation of the line perpendicular to this line. So we need two things. We need the equation and we need the graph. Let's first get the equation and we'll use that to graph it. This is also through the point, I believe it's 2, -3. 2, -3. So that gives us a point to work with. So we're going to use the point slope form. We have the point, now we need the slope. And the slope of the original line given to us is here, that's -3. And the slope of the perpendicular line is the negative reciprocal of this. That's just fancy language that says, just take this and flip it, and then change the sign. So if it's negative, it'll become positive. If it's positive, it will become negative. So the slope, the perpendicular slope, this means perpendicular, is, well, if it was negative, it becomes positive, and then I'm going to flip the 3. 3 over 1 becomes 1 over 3. So there's my perpendicular slope. I have the point already, so let's use the point slope form. The equation will be y plus 3 equals 1/3 x minus 2. And now we can graph it. It's y plus 3, by the way, because I'm doing y minus -3. Y minus -3 there, so it becomes positive. Okay, so let's graph that. I go 1, 2, -3, 1, 2, 3. And I have a slope of 1/3, so that means I go up 1, and then 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over 3 and connect the dots. Okay, so that's it. The equation is part of the answer, and so is the graph. Okay, number 34. We have a system of equations, which means we have two lines, and they usually intersect. They don't always, but they usually intersect in a point. So we want to find that point. And the way we're going to do that, the way we learned, is one thing we can do is subtract the equations to get rid of one of the variables, or add them, whatever you feel comfortable with. In this case, maybe we'll subtract the equations and get rid of the y's. When I subtract the y's, I get 0. Then I still have the equal. I subtract the x's. X minus -x gives me 2x. I subtract -4 minus 2 gives me -6. And now I have an equation with just x in it, so I can solve for x. So let's add 6. Okay, and then divide by 2. So I get 3 equals x. So that just gives me half the story. I need x and y to know what the point is. So now I take this value of x and I can plug it in to either one of these equations. You'll get the same answer. And let's see that. If I use the first equation, I have y equals 3 minus 4, putting the 3 in for x. So I get y equals -1. If I were to use the other equation, I would put the 3 in for x, and I would get y equals -3 plus 2, and I get y equals -1. So you see, it doesn't matter which equation I plug back into. Whatever one's the easiest is the one that's preferable. Okay, so now I have my point. The point is 3, -1. And then it also says to graph the system. So this is just extra practice at graphing lines. But also it gives you the opportunity to check your answer, because the point where these lines cross should be this point. Okay, so let's graph this. That says a y-intercept of -4. Okay, let's go down to -4. And it's got a slope of 1 here. There's a hidden 1 there. So 1 over 1. That's rise over run. I go up 1 and over 1. And connect the dots. Okay, the second one, this has a y-intercept of 2. Let's put that up there. And it has a slope of -1, that's -1 over 1. So I go down 1 and over 1, and I connect the dots. Okay, and look, 1, 2, 3, -1. That's the place where they intersect. So it verifies the answer that I got. So 2 parts to this problem. You have the solution that you got algebraically, and then we have our graphical solution to verify the solution. Okay, number 25. Graph and write the equation of the line parallel to this line through this point. Okay, so a couple things. We need to write the equation, and then we also need to graph it. So the key thing is that parallel lines have the same slope. So if we could find the slope of this line, then we'll know the slope of our parallel line. Let's first get this in y equals mx plus b form, so we're not confused by anything. Y equals 4x minus 2. So that's the line we're given. The slope of this line is 4, because if I have y equals mx plus b, this number here in front of the x represents the slope. So I know that my parallel line has a slope of 4. Okay, and we have a point. That point is 0, 1. So let's use point slope form. And what we get is y minus 1 equals 4 times x minus 0. And that's the equation. You can leave the equation like that. If you like, you can solve for y or simplify this, whatever you like. If we do that, we get y minus 1. We can multiply this out. We get 4x minus 0, because 4 times 0 is 0. And then we could add 1 to each side, and we get y equals 4x plus 1. Okay, now let's graph, but this is fine too if you just leave the equation like that. Let's graph that. I have my point 0, 1. And then I have a slope of 4, so I go up 4 and over 1. So up 4 over 1, that gives me my new point, and we graph it. And that's it.